Hello everybody from sunny Rockland, Maine. Last time on this channel we talked about emotional responses, or that emotions are emotional responses to things going on inside us and around us. What I'd like to do today is to say and to describe briefly how emotional responses are like sensory responses. Sensory responses are sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. And what I'm saying is emotional responses operate in the same way. Something happens around us or thoughts inside us, we have emotional responses to them all the time, happening all the time, just like we are smelling, tasting, seeing, all that stuff all the time. Let's look at one particular sensory response to make my point, and that is taste, and that is sour. So you're going along, you're actually tasting all the time, or we are, but we don't notice it. There's nothing noticeable. Suddenly you bite into a sour pickle. Wow, you notice that it's really sour, maybe really garlicky or something. But anyway, it's sour, activating the sour taste response. Before that, don't notice what you're tasting, but when you do, bite into that sour pickle, you notice it. Same thing is true for emotional responses. You're going along, not really feeling much emotionally, but then you get a phone call or a text or something from someone who loves you very much, you love them very much, it makes you happy. You get a joy response all of a sudden, and then in that conversation, back and forth, feeling that joy response back and forth between the two of you. So again, going along, not really feeling anything emotionally, and then contact from someone you love, they love you, sudden joy response. So with taste, there are 5 fundamental categories of taste. Sweet, salty, savory, sour, and bitter. Those categories of taste responses we're having all the time. So I say that because the same is true for our emotional responses. There are 4 fundamental categories of emotional responses: joy, anger, fear, and sadness. So again, I'm bringing up the taste responses, the 5 fundamentals, to make the point that it's very similar for the 4 basic fundamental emotional responses. Once again, to make my point, all of our sensory responses are going on all the time, and we are constantly processing them, and most of the time we don't notice. We're just not consciously aware. We're always seeing, we're always smelling, we're always tasting and touching. It's just always going on, just like our emotional responses are always going on. But if there's nothing really strong about what's happening around us, we just don't consciously notice them. And once again, to make my point, is that you're going along and you suddenly smell something that is awful or wonderful. You suddenly notice the smell and start thinking about it and categorizing it instantaneously and responding to it. Whatever you do, you're attracted to a good smell, you're repelled by a bad smell. Same thing is true from our emotional responses. Something goes on, causes the joy response, we're attracted to it, we want to be more a part of that and be with it, whatever. And the same thing is true for anger, fear, and sadness, which are hopefully very much a minority part of our life, but something happens to cause those emotional responses. We want to make a change, we want to get away from it, we want to deal with it, whatever it is. All sensory and emotional responses exist for a purpose. They are part of existing. To continue existing, for our continued existing, they are caring functions, all part of the caring existing that defines life and us. Really, what I'm saying is emotional responses are the 6th sense. We have established 5 sensory responses, and this is, I think, the 6th. And again, all part of our caring being as human beings. That's it for this episode. Hope you are well. Take good care.